Title: The Last Lesson of Revenge. Grandpa Malik sat by the window, the warmth of the setting sun casting a gentle glow on his weathered face. His hands trembled slightly as they rested on his lap, the marks of time etched in every wrinkle, every scar. His once strong and proud frame was now frail, but his eyes still burned with a fire that refused to die. At 82, Malik had lived a life full of joy, love, and unimaginable sorrow. He had been a man of honor and respect, someone who valued integrity above all else. But the most painful chapter of his life was still fresh in his mind, even after all these years. It had begun decades ago when Malik was in his prime. He was a man who had built his life from the ground up, a successful businessman, a loving husband to his wife Fatima, and a devoted father to his 3 children. Life had seemed perfect, until the day when everything changed. Malik's younger brother, Raza, had always been the black sheep of the family. He was ambitious, selfish, and prone to doing anything to get ahead. Despite their differences, Malik had always tried to help Raza, offering him advice and support. But Raza's greed knew no bounds, and it led him to make a decision that would haunt Malik for the rest of his life. Raza had plotted to take over the family business, and to do so, he had made a deal with a ruthless businessman from the city. Malik was blindsided by the betrayal, unable to comprehend how his own brother could turn against him. The betrayal was not just financial, it was personal. Raza had stolen everything Malik had worked for, even the house that had been in their family for generations. But the most painful part was the loss of his children's trust. His son, Hassan, and daughter, Amina, had sided with Raza, believing his lies over their father's integrity. The heartbreak of that betrayal weighed on Malik's soul, and for years he did nothing but brood in silence. He watched from afar as Raza flourished in his newfound wealth and power, while Malik was left to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. His wife Fatima had passed away soon after, heartbroken by the devastation of the betrayal. She had been the love of his life, and her loss left a void that no amount of time could heal. But Malik had never forgotten what Raza had done. The anger, the pain, the sense of injustice. It all festered inside him like a wound that refused to heal. And now, with the years weighing heavily on him, he knew that there was one final lesson he needed to teach Raza. It was a lesson in the cost of betrayal. One day, a letter arrived for Malik. It was from Hassan, his son. Malik had not seen him in over 10 years. The letter was short and to the point. "Father, Raza has lost everything. His empire has crumbled and he is begging for your help. He has nowhere left to turn. I know you must have your reasons for staying away, but he needs you now. Please, for the sake of family." Malik sat with the letter in his hands, the words swirling in his mind. He had heard rumors over the years of Raza's downfall, how his greed had led him to make enemies, how his empire had collapsed under the weight of his dishonesty. But to hear it from his own son, it brought back memories of a time when he had once been the protector, the provider, and now he was being asked to help the man who had stolen everything from him. Malik stood up slowly, his joints aching, his thoughts racing. He had always prided himself on being a man of principle, someone who didn't act out of anger or emotion. But in this moment, he knew that it was time for him to act, not out of kindness, but out of justice. He made his decision. The next morning, Malik set out for the city. It was a long and tiring journey, but he had no intention of turning back. He arrived at Raza's mansion, a once glorious structure now crumbling and desolate. The gates were rusted, the garden overgrown, and the windows shattered. Raza's empire had fallen, and now he was left with nothing. Malik stepped inside, his heart heavy but resolute. He found Raza sitting in the once grand living room, now a shadow of its former self. Raza looked older, his once sharp features now haggard, his clothes tattered. He didn't even seem to recognize Malik at first, his eyes vacant, as if life had drained him of everything that mattered. "Malik, is it really you?" Raza's voice was barely a whisper, a tone filled with disbelief. Malik said nothing at first. He just stood there, staring at the man who had betrayed him. Raza's eyes searched his face, and for a moment it was as if time had stood still. The years melted away, and Malik saw the man who had once been his brother, the man he had trusted above all others. "You've come," Raza said, his voice shaking. I don't know what to say. I've lost everything, Malik. My wealth, my friends, my respect. It's all gone. And now I have nothing, no one left. Malik took a deep breath. The anger that had festered inside him for so long was still there, but now it was tempered with something deeper, something wiser. He had spent years seeking revenge in his heart. But now he realized that true justice came not from retribution, but from understanding the price of betrayal. "You've lost everything, Raza," Malik said slowly, "but that's not the worst of it. You lost your soul the day you chose greed over family. And now you want forgiveness? You want me to help you pick up the pieces of your broken life?" Raza nodded, his eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Malik, I was wrong. I've realized that now. Please, I need your help. I don't have anyone else." Malik's gaze softened, but his voice remained firm. "I will not help you rebuild what you destroyed. That is not the lesson here. The lesson is that when you betray the ones you love, you lose more than just wealth. You lose your dignity, your honor, your humanity, and no one can give those back to you." Raza looked down, ashamed, as the weight of Malik's words settled on him. For the first time in years, he understood the depth of his own wrongdoing. But it was too late. The price of betrayal could never be undone. Malik turned and walked away, leaving Raza in the ruins of his own making. As he left the mansion, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. Revenge had never been his true goal. It had always been to show Raza that the greatest loss wasn't money. It was the love and trust of those who mattered most. As Malik walked into the sunset, he knew that he had finally found the closure he had been searching for all these years. It was not in revenge, but in the wisdom of letting go.